climate change is happening now. Evidence is being seen support the fact that the change cannot simply be explained by natural variation. The most recent scientific assessments have confirmed that this warning of the climate system since the mid 20th century is most likely to be due to human activities, and thus is due to the observed increase in greenhouse gas concentrations from human activities such as burning of fossil fuels and land use change. Current warning has increasingly posed quite considerable challenge to man and the environment and will continue to do so in the future. Presently, some autonomous adaptation is taking place, but we need to consider a more proactive adaptation planning in order to ensure sustainable development. Climate change is having serious impacts on the Philippines, such as increased frequency and severity of natural disasters, sea level rise, extreme rainfall, resource shortage, and environmental degradation. All of these impacts together have greatly affected the Philippines' agriculture, water, infrastructures, human health, and coastal ecosystems, and they are projected to continue having devastating damages to the economy and society of the Philippines.
Let's proceed for the climate change impacts. So, climate change has had significant impacts on the Philippines, leading to devastating consequences that have affected the nation's citizens and economy. So, here are some key impacts of climate change in the Philippines based on the information gathered. So, first we have the deadliest typhoons, second, vulnerability to extreme weather, third, geographic factors, fourth, developmental challenges, fifth, economic consequences, and lastly, the call to action. So, let's tackle first the deadliest typhoons. So, climate change greatly worsens the impact of the deadliest typhoons through several ways. So, first, it makes typhoons stronger by heating up the ocean's surface, removing the natural barrier that weakens them. Second, it rises sea levels, making storm surge more destructive when typhoons hit land. Third, scientific studies show a clear link between super typhoons and extreme events caused by climate change. Also, climate change makes intense storms more frequent, increasing the number of severe natural disasters. Additionally, it alters storm paths and strength, making it harder to predict and manage them. This is especially tough for countries like the Philippines that don't have many resources to prepare for disasters. To tackle this, we need to cut down on carbon emissions and create plans to adapt to these changes locally. So, in the Philippines, five of the 10 deadliest typhoons in the Philippines have occurred since 2006, displacing thousands and resulting in significant casualties. And the deadliest storm on record in the Philippines is Typhoon Yolanda in 2013, causing over 6,300 deaths, displacing over 4 million citizens and causing $2 billion in damages. Next, vulnerability to extreme weather. It is closely linked to climate change, influenced by several key factors. Firstly, climate change is making extreme weather like hurricanes, typhoons, heat waves, and heavy rainfall more intense and frequent due to global warming. This puts people at higher risk of harm. Next, rising sea levels from climate change increase the danger of storm surge, especially for coastal areas. This leads to more flooding and damage during hurricanes and typhoons, making coastal communities more vulnerable. Next, climate change is altering traditional weather patterns, causing more unpredictable and severe weather events. This makes it harder for communities to get ready for extreme weather, increasing their vulnerability. Next, climate change contributes to the loss of biodiversity and damage to ecosystems, which are important for protecting against extreme weather. Weaker ecosystems mean communities are more exposed to natural disasters. Lastly, extreme weather events intensified by climate change can cause significant health issues like injuries, illnesses, and mental health problems. Vulnerable groups, such as the elderly and those with existing health conditions, are especially at risk, showing how climate change affects vulnerability in many ways. So, the Philippines is particularly vulnerable to extreme weather due to its geographical location. And about 20 tropical cyclones enter Philippine waters annually, with 8 or 9 making landfall, and this frequency has increased in recent years due to climate change. Next, geographic factors. So, geographic factors greatly influence how climate change impacts different regions. Locations near the equator experience faster warming, affecting ecosystems and human settlements. Higher elevations warm up quicker, affecting mountain areas and water sources. Proximity to water bodies leads to sea level rise and altered precipitation patterns, especially affecting coastal regions. Changes in land types like deforestation or mountainous terrain further impact local climates. Global wind patterns are disrupted by climate change, altering rainfall and storm paths. Understanding this relationship is vital for effectively addressing the challenges posed by climate change. So, in the Philippines, it is surrounded by warm waters in the western Pacific Ocean, which are getting warmer due to rising sea surface temperatures, leading to stronger and more frequent storms. And the lack of natural barriers such as coral reefs and mangrove ecosystems contributes to the impacts of storms, and deforestation has reduced the protective function of mangroves. Next, developmental challenges. So, climate change exacerbates development challenges across various fronts. It disrupts food security by altering temperature and rainfall patterns, leading to crop failures and food shortages, particularly in regions reliant on agriculture. Additionally, it impacts water resources, causing scarcity and affecting drinking waters, sanitation, and agriculture, especially in already water stressed areas. The spread of diseases and heat related illnesses is heightened by climate change, straining healthcare systems and disproportionately affecting vulnerable populations. Infrastructure and homes suffer damage from extreme weather events, leading to displacement and hindering recovery efforts. Economic stability is undermined by climate related disruptions, affecting trade and national budgets with small and developing economies, bearing the brunt of the impact. Furthermore, climate change exacerbates social inequality by disproportionately affecting marginalized groups, exacerbating existing disparities. Addressing climate change is essential for mitigating these interconnected challenges and fostering sustainability development globally. So, developmental factors have made it challenging for the Philippines to prepare and respond to disaster effectively. And evacuation plans, early warning systems, and shelters are critical but face hurdles due to countries' dispersed population across thousands of islands. Next, economic consequences. So, the economic impacts of climate change are broad and complex, affecting various parts of the economy and global financial stability. So, climate related disaster cost a lot of recover from putting pressure on economies. So, supply chains get messed up, causing shortages and making businesses less efficient. Changes in temperature and rainfall hurt farming, making food less secure and more expensive. Damage to nature adds more problems affecting important services we rely on. Climate change also brings risks to investments and financial markets. Coastal areas and places relying on tourism face dangers from rising seas and damage. It's important to take action to lessen these impacts and make our economies stronger. So, destructive typhoons cost the Philippines about 2% of its GDP each year, with an additional 2% needed for reconstruction. And this regular economic hit from tropical storms hinders the nation's growth and development aspirations. Lastly, call to action. So, a call to action in response to climate change is crucial for tackling its effects and promoting sustainability. While it's not a direct result of climate change, not taking action can lead to significant consequences. Firstly, urgent action is needed to deal with climate change's global challenges, impacting ecosystems, economies, and people's well being. Without quick action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and limit global warming, extreme weather events, rising seas, and loss of biodiversity will worsen, affecting communities worldwide. So, second, taking action to lessen climate change's impact is vital, especially for vulnerable groups and the environment. Switching to renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, and using sustainable practices can help cut emissions, slow temperature rise, and reduce disasters. A call to action brings together individuals, communities, businesses, and governments to find sustainable solutions. Third, climate action is closely tied to sustainable development goals like reducing poverty and protecting the environment. By promoting sustainable practices in all areas, we can grow economically while looking after the planet. A call to action drives innovation, cooperation, and policy changes supporting sustainable development. Additionally, tackling climate change requires global teamwork and support. A call to action encourages countries to work together, share knowledge, and provide resources to tackle climate change on a global scale. Lastly, climate action empowers communities and individuals to speak up for sustainable solutions and make a difference. By raising awareness, educating, and getting people involved, we can create movements and policies for climate resilience and adaptation. So, educating citizens about the impacts of climate change and promoting clean energy solutions is crucial to addressing the challenges faced by the Philippines. And collaboration and awareness are key to mitigating the effects of climate change on the nation and its people. So, in conclusion, while not a direct result of climate change, a call to action is essential for dealing with its effects, promoting sustainability, fostering global cooperation, and empowering communities and individuals to tackle the challenges of a changing climate. Taking action on climate change is vital for protecting our planet and securing a sustainable future for all.
The explanation you provided neatly outlines the two primary approaches within the UNFCCC framework for addressing climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. Let's delve a bit deeper into each of these approaches. First, mitigation. Mitigation involves action taken to reduce or prevent the emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, thereby addressing the root cause of climate change. This can be achieved through various means, including transitioning to renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and hydroelectric power to replace fossil fuels, improving energy efficiency in transportation, buildings, and industrial processes, implementing policies and regulations to limit emissions from industries, agriculture, and other sectors, protecting and restoring forests, which act as carbon sinks by absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through photosynthesis, promoting sustainable land and practices to reduce deforestation and preserve carbon rich ecosystems. Mitigation efforts require significant changes in societal behavior, technological innovation, and policy frameworks. It involves a global effort as emissions reductions in one country can be offset by increases in another, emphasizing the importance of international cooperation and agreements like the Paris Agreement under the UNFCCC.
Adaptation refers to measures taken to adjust and respond to the impact of climate change that are already occurring or are anticipated to occur in the future. This involves building resilience in communities, infrastructure, and ecosystem to withstand the impacts of climate change, such as sea level rise, extreme weather events, changes of precipitation patterns, and shifts in ecosystems, developing early warning systems and disaster preparedness plan to reduce the risk associated with climate-related hazards, implementing agriculture practices and weather management strategies that are better suited to changing climatic conditions. Investing in climate-resilient urban planning and infrastructure to minimize damage from floods, heat waves, and other climate-related hazards. Enhancing biodiversity conservation efforts to protect ecosystem and species vulnerable to climate change impact. Adaptation is essential because even the significant mitigation efforts, some level of climate change is already lacked in due to past emissions. It's acknowledged that societies and ecosystems will need to adapt to the changes climate to minimize negative impacts and seize potential opportunities. Both mitigation and adaptation are complementary and necessary components of a comprehensive response to climate change. While mitigation aims to address the underlying drivers of climate change, adaptation focuses on managing the unavoidable impacts. By pursuing both approaches simultaneously, countries can work towards achieving the ultimate goal of stabilizing greenhouse gas concentrations and safeguarding the planet for current and future generations.
So, here are some solutions for addressing climate change in the Philippines. So, first is increasing renewable energy usage, encouraging the use of renewable energy sources like solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal power can decrease the country's dependence on fossil fuels and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The Philippines has ample renewable energy potential, and policies supporting the development of renewable energy infrastructure can expedite this transition. So, by promoting this renewable energy, the Philippines can tap into its natural resources to generate electricity in a sustainable manner. This reduces the reliance on polluting fossil fuels, leading to the cleaner air and lower carbon emissions, thus combating climate change. The second one is preserving and restoring forests. Protecting and regrowing forests are vital for fighting climate change as they absorb carbon dioxide, support biodiversity, and mitigate natural disasters like floods and landslides. Policies aim at preventing deforestation, encouraging sustainable forest management, and undertaking large scale reforestation projects can help expand forest cover in the Philippines. So forests act as important carbon sinks, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and storing it in trees and soil. By conserving existing forests and planting new trees, the Philippines can offset greenhouse gas emissions and enhance resilience to climate impacts. The third one is adapting climate resilient agriculture. Developing farming practices and technologies resilient to climate change can help Filipino farmers adapt to shifting weather patterns and maintain food security. This includes promoting crops resistant to drought, improving water management, practicing agroforestry, and providing farmers with climate smart agricultural techniques and support services. So, climate resilient agriculture equips farmers with the tools and knowledge to sustainably produce food despite climate challenges. By implementing these practices, the Philippines can enhance agricultural productivity, reduce vulnerability to climate risk, and ensure food availability for its population.
Investing in coastal protection. Given the country's susceptibility to climate-related threats like rising sea levels, storm surges, and coastal erosions, investing in coastal defenses and adaptation measures is crucial. This involves constructing or reinforcing seawalls, rehabilitating mangrove ecosystems, implementing land use planning, regulations, and relocating vulnerable communities to safer areas. Coastal protection measures safeguard life, property, and ecosystem from the impacts of climate change-induced coastal hazards. By investing resilient infrastructures and nature-based solutions, the Philippines can mitigate risks and adapt to changing coastal conditions. Empowering local communities. Engaging communities in climate resilience efforts through participatory approaches can enhance their ability to cope with climate impacts. This includes conducting capacity building activities, establishing early warning systems, supporting sustainable livelihood projects, and integrating traditional knowledge with modern adaptation strategies. Local communities are often the first to feel the effects of climate change and play a critical role in implementing adaptation measures. By involving communities in decision-making process and providing them with resources and support, the Philippines can strengthen resilience at the grassroots level and foster sustainable development.
Overall, these solutions require collaboration and coordination among various stakeholders to effectively address climate change challenges in the Philippines. By implementing a combination of mitigation and adaptation measures, the country can work towards building a more sustainable and resilient future in the face of climate change. In conclusion, climate change is the most significant problem facing the world. Global warming is increasing day by day. If we cannot prevent it as soon as possible, our world will face undesirable consequences. Climate change in the Philippines presents a complex and urgent challenge impacting various aspects of the country's environment, economy, and society. Rising temperatures, more frequent extreme weather events, sea level rise, and changing rainfall patterns are among the key manifestations. These changes exacerbate existing vulnerabilities, threatening food security, water resources, infrastructure, and livelihoods. Addressing climate change requires coordinated efforts, including mitigation through reducing greenhouse gas emissions and adaptation measures to build resilience. Collaboration at local, national, and international levels is crucial to mitigate the impacts and safeguard the well being of present and future generations in the Philippines. It highlights the far reaching impacts of climate change on various aspects of society, including sustainable development, poverty eradication, and economic growth. By emphasizing the need for decisive action now, it stresses the significance of proactive measures to mitigate the adverse effects of climate change and prevent further escalation. Scientific assessments are cited to underscore the potential cause of inaction, emphasizing the economic imperative of transitioning to a low carbon emission path. This implies a fundamental shift in economic development towards sustainability and resilience. Furthermore, the statement underscores the interconnectedness of climate change with broader socio-economic issues, advocating for a holistic approach that considers equity, justice, and global collaboration. Ultimately, it highlights the need for innovative solutions, effective governance, and long term vision to address climate change and ensure a sustainable future for all.